Welcome back to another edition of the No Stopping Kev Show. It's your boy, Lil KB, aka Lil Man. They don't know about that.
And I'm KB.
So it's good.
Well, I mean, the day is good, especially since you got me wound up on other talk that I guess they'll get to on a later day.
Oh yeah, y'all.
But we're not going to talk about that.
It just got a little heated up in here in the debate. We just revisited that LeBron Magic, so we're gonna have to come back at y'all with some. We got some heat for y'all coming y'all way. But I see you switched up the schools this week.
Yeah, I'm representing my daughter this week.
Where my shirt at?
Huh?
Where my shirt at?
We had to tell your daughter to send you one.
Who?
Your daughter.
You want to try that again?
Oh, my daughter.
All right, there we go.
Your sister.
Right.
Or the next time we get up there, we have to get you one.
Yeah, give me some.
She was just home.
Maybe like a dry fit shirt or something. You know.
A dry fit.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what dry fit shirt is.
Just ask Bree. She'll know.
Okay, yeah, this new wave and new talk of shirts and
this dry fit. It's like the athletic material.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
All right.
Yeah. So hook a brother up.
That's like them skin tight things y'all be wearing. Huh?
Nah, I don't gotta be skin tight like
no,
this.
I'm not
this
saying
loose.
skin. Oh, you just talking about the material.
Yeah, I don't need compression.
Oh,
I just want dry fit.
Okay.
Just ask Bree. She gonna know.
Okay.
But yeah, ready for today's episode. I think it's gonna be a great one. But just want to remind folks while we're here, we just looking to inspire people to push through their adversities and to remember that, hey, you're not alone. There's other people out there. They might not be going through exactly the same thing you're going through, but there's people out there that we can lean on, and at least they can empathize, and we should be able to share our experiences, or at least live in a world where we should feel comfortable sharing what we're going through, because ultimately that helps us, right? It's going to help your physical and mental health, whether you realize it or not, which is why I'm a big proponent of now sharing my experiences, because there was a lot of years where, you just be holding so much in, and it takes a toll on you. And the weight of the world gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and sometimes you just got to talk about it to let it all out, right? Rise up. You also do your push-ups and get all swole balls and you throw the weight of the world off your shoulders, baby.
Well, you know what? Like you said, but you always should have somebody that you can go talk to.
Yeah.
And that part is somebody that you can trust and got your best interest in hand.
Mm-hmm. Other thing we like to do on this show is talk about things that are impacting the community, right? And right now we had a big, I guess we can call it talk of the town this week with Michael White's case. I guess I'll give a rundown of what happened with this series of events. So let me know if I missed anything. So July 2018, and it's crazy how fast time flies, because when the trial and stuff was happening this week, for some reason in my mind, I guess a lot of the events and emotions still felt fresh. Probably because I resonated with Michael White so much that it felt like it was this past summer, but no, it was 2018. We're in 2019, right? But it's July 2018. Michael White is a college student home from college for summer vacation. He was working as a food delivery carrier. And it was about 11 p.m. one night in Rittenhouse, which is a section of Center City here in Philadelphia. And he was on his bike, and he was blocked by a vehicle in front of him. We know Rittenhouse can get pretty hectic at times, a lot of traffic, especially on Friday, Saturday nights. So he was unable to kind of, I guess, finesse his bike around. So he was blocked in for a second by a vehicle in front of him. That vehicle apparently was blocked by a vehicle that was in front of it, right? And so, Mike's sitting there on his bike, can't get around, and he states that he heard the driver of the car that was blocking him utter a racial slur to his friend. The friend ended up getting out of the vehicle that was blocking Mike to, I guess, go confront the vehicle that was blocking their vehicle. And, Michael says, like, hey, you don't got to be a tough guy, or something to that effect. And, I guess then from there, the person that he said that to ended up being Sean Schellinger, who ended up being stabbed in the back, but Schellinger's attention became focused on Michael White, and Michael also states that Schellinger said, "I'll beat the black off of you," and Mike probably a little nervous in that situation. I'll say that, but he pulled a knife out, and based on the things that I've read, he pulled the knife out, retreated, and said something to Schellinger to the effect of, stay back or don't come any closer, right? So after that, Schellinger, and they have camera evidence of this, and also witness accounts, but Schellinger charged Michael White. We'll say he tackled him. Arms were wrapped around Michael, and Michael stabbed him in the back. He carried a box cutter, I guess, or some type of knife. And he said he carried it because, he's delivering food late at night. He's going into, God only knows what neighborhoods, and he carried it for protection to feel safe. And unfortunately, on this night, he had to use it. Schellinger died that night. And this past week was Mike's trial. At first, initially, he was facing first-degree murder, which is when you have the intent to kill. That was then reduced to third-degree murder, which is, when the offender kills someone, but it wasn't intentional. And then that was then reduced, like the day before the trial began, to voluntary manslaughter, or, like a passion crime, or I forget the other term they use for it. But basically, like you didn't mean to kill a person at all. Like that wasn't the intention, right? And that's what the DA felt would be their best chance at getting a conviction in this case. It's like, if we're going to get this guy on something, this is going to be it. We couldn't get the first degree to stick because there wasn't enough to support it. So the charges got reduced down to voluntary manslaughter. Ooh, I feel like I need some water. I feel like I'm throwing a lot at y'all. But, I guess, long story short, quote unquote, the verdict was announced on, I believe, Thursday of this past week, and they found Michael White not guilty of voluntary manslaughter. He was found guilty of tampering with evidence, which he'll go to sentencing on December 6th, because the knife he used, he threw it on a roof in West Philly. Feel like I said a lot. But that's talk of the town right now, and it's a story that I felt like kind of resonated with me since day one. Just being that at the time it happened, I was a year removed from college, and when I was hearing, even before all the details came out, I kind of immediately pictured myself being in that position. And I was just worried that, like, I felt like I could piece some things together, right? I was just worried that this young man's life was going to be, gone, or essentially taken away from him. But yeah, Dad, I just want to kind of hear what you're thinking about right now.
First of all, I like to say, I'm always sorry that somebody has to die.
Definitely. You never want a life lost.
Sorry that somebody had to die, but hopefully Michael White's life don't have to die with it too. Mm-hmm. And like the story say, like, it don't make who was really right. Well, we know, but both of them, the man coming at you, he could have been scared. Mm-hmm. He could have just been, pulling the knife out just to try to scare him off. Mm-hmm. He could have been feared for his life. And I'm not gonna say, I don't know if he could have got around or couldn't get around. I don't really know that because I wasn't really there. And I know that we say what the story say. But through me going through a criminal thing and like that, I know that everything is said is not always correct. And we don't know because sometimes, he's a powerful real estate guy. And who friends or what help his statements or anything like that. But I'm glad because Michael White wasn't a bad guy. They have nothing bad about him. So he was in college, and you know what? He's working to pay his way to go back to college, or make some money, on the hand. So it ain't like it's a bad person. That's why I had to say I'm glad his life, and I hope, and I had to say still, I hope his life is not ruined by this. Because, when we talk about it, like you said, like at time when me and you was talking, you was saying how they first said he was a college student. Now you don't hear Michael White, the college student. You just hear Michael White.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, like I you know what, and I think that like I said again, it's a shame that somebody had to die. For this. And I think by the story, and like I know that we have stories and stuff. We need the news because that's what that people are attracted to. The violence in the news. We don't talk about all the good things in the news because, you just hear about him stabbing. Why don't hear how good he might be doing in school or this man going to school? He doing the right thing. He and it seemed like he got a good backing because otherwise, some kind of way, he wouldn't have been getting off.
Mm-hmm.
And like it couldn't be like when you were saying first degree murder. Nah, they can't get first degree murder. That's them wanting to lynch. First degree murder, some kind of way, is premeditated. Something like that, and it ain't.
It's having an intention to kill.
Yeah. This wasn't it, and that's why I think it kept on going down. But then when you say too, like I heard somebody talking about self-defense or something like that. It ain't like he ran at him with the knife.
Yeah, that was another thing that stuck out to me too.
He didn't run at him. Like I'm saying, like what? Okay, if I say something out of my mouth wrong to you, like what? Like some things sometimes just come out.
Right.
Who say? Like I'm saying, then what? He didn't say no racial slurs to him. He said racial slurs to him. Like what they talking about? Beating a black off him and all like this.
Yeah.
So like I'm just happy. I mean, I'm glad that he got off. I'm glad that he got there because that could have been a person that was doing good and we're going to do good and could have took a life from him.
Mm-hmm.
Just took a life from him. And like I said, I don't think it was his fault. It wasn't done intentionally. So therefore, I mean, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I think you said a lot of things that, I was thinking about too and that stood out to me. One, Mike, he wasn't just your average, like, he's not your average, I'll say, person from Philly, or he's not your average person up to no good. I'll say that. This kid definitely was on the right track. 20-year-old kid home from school. And, the thing that when I was revisiting this story this week that stood out to me was they started failing to mention that he was a college student when this happened, and every time they would mention Schellinger, it was Philadelphia real estate developer Sean Schellinger, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, you're giving this guy some added value and you're just making this guy your average Joe. And I'm like, why not Michael White, the educated black man, going into a sophomore, junior year of college at Morgan State University? Like, why isn't it should be equal? Like, I'm not going to call, one person. Like, I'm not going to call you Mr. Beeford and then call somebody else Jeffrey, right? Like, if I'm giving a story, it's going to be Mr. Beeford and Mr. Owens, or, it should be equal when you're doing that. And so that was the first thing that didn't stick right with me and kind of made me fearful because I'm like, I don't want this certain narrative or picture to be painted of who Michael White is as a person, because based on the information that I had and based on what I saw, I'm like, this isn't a bad kid that was up to no good. Like, hey, he's working to earn money. He's doing it the right way, right? So it's like, don't do that. The other thing is, that kind of made me upset when I was reading about the verdict and things like that is, they're talking about Michael having a knife And I'm like, well, one, if he's delivering food to different parts of the city, like Philadelphia is not some big happy town place where nothing happens, right? You got certain areas that are worse than others, and sometimes he had to venture into those areas to do his job. Carrying a knife make you feel a little bit safer. Have something in case something happens. You have something that you think you can use, right? Like I don't fault him for that either, because there's times where I've been in environments where I've, felt my safety was at risk, and I carried a knife. Like case in point, when I was in college, shortly after the 2016 election, certain group chats were made, threats were made against people of color, specifically black men. I felt I could be targeted at any moment. So now when I'm moving about campus, and especially at hours when it's dark, I'll have my box cutter handy just in case, because I didn't know. So if I feel like I might be vulnerable, I might need some just in case. Like I don't want to use it, right? I don't want to have to harm someone.
Now, let me ask you a question. You said box cutter?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm kind of confused with box cutter and a knife. I see, back when I was coming up, man, we had the store, and, we used to use box cutters to cut it. A box cutter ain't going to do nothing but cut somebody. A knife is something that you stab with, unless they make different types of box cutters now. Like, I don't know, because, technology and things are different. But excuse me for really cutting in, too. Like, it's nothing wrong with you carrying something for you might be fair. People that carry money go get a gun, license to carry a gun.
Right.
So they carrying that gun to protect themselves. What? Like some people that probably deliver stuff has a gun.
Yeah. Which is what I believe he was doing.
Maybe he can't carry a gun. He don't have a gun license. He don't have that. Now that would be illegal. He can't ride around. But a knife, you can put that in your pocket or whatever. And if somebody come, and then like you said, the guy did lunge at him.
Yeah, first of all, Schellinger exited a vehicle to go confront another car. Like one, that's aggressive behavior. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Schellinger also had a blood alcohol level twice the legal driving limit and had cocaine in the system. So judgment a little impaired, to say the least.
And one other thing I want to talk about that you were saying before I forget. Like, when you was talking about Michael White, they didn't have nothing bad to really say about him. Because believe me, if they had...
Oh, it would have been out there. It would have been out there.
So they didn't have anything. But now the other guy, what's his track record?
Oh, yeah, he has one.
Right.
You see the smiley real estate developer picture or, face. You hear all the accounts and testimonies from people about all the great work he's doing. But... they're not mentioning what happened when he was down in Florida or Miami, where he had an incident at a nightclub with a bouncer that had to be reported and things like that. They're not mentioning those events where same situation, had some impairments at the time, exhibited aggressive behavior. Same thing happened in this case. You have a pattern of events, which would have really made me disappointed if they would have sent Michael White to jail for this, if he would have been found guilty. Because it's like, you have the evidence, and we see it time and time again, where the justice system fails people of color, despite it being pretty obvious, or at least you would think it's pretty clear as to what happened, what evidence is present, and what makes sense. But for some reason, the court system fails us so many times that, that's one of the reasons I felt like I had to talk about this. It's unfortunate that we got to celebrate wins that we probably deserve or that should happen. But we've been wrong so many times that I'm just happy and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to God that we got to win, especially in this case with this man being so young. And, what I was getting at earlier, one thing that frustrated me the most is when they tried to argue that Schellinger was acting in self-defense. I'm like, if a person pulls a knife, you go into charge and disarm them after the reports say, when Michael White pulled his knife, he retreated and basically told Schellinger, like, don't come any closer or back off, something to that effect. So after receiving a warning, if you still charge through, right? That's not self-defense at that point. At least in my eyes. Self-defense is if someone's attacking you and you do what you got to do, which is what Michael did. You know, he had his knife. He was charging. If I'm in his position, if I'm underside, if I'm outside, you know, if I feel like I'm outmatched, and if a grown man is coming at me, you know, now it's a little bit different because I'm a little bit older. I've been in positions of authority where I've had to watch over kids, like coaching. Like, I've had incidents where I felt like a coach, you know, was coming at one of my players, and I'm like, no, you deal with me. Like, I got that experience now. I didn't have that experience when I was 20 years old. So if I'm out in the street and now this guy that looks like he's out of his mind is, if I think he's about to attack me, there's going to be some fear there. So I, too, could have taken similar actions. And I know what that fear can feel like when you're in that position. So once you get tackled to the ground, now you got to do what you got to do, which is what the defense argued. Like, when you're put in a position, when you're attacked, you got to do what you got to do to make sure you're not harmed.
Well,
that's self-defense.
You know, too, in that sense, too. How smart was him to charge a guy? You know,
that wasn't the rational thing to do.
That's something that, like, you know what? You win. You know, you win.
Yeah,
you
right.
got the knife.
I'm gonna get back in my car. Like, I would get back in my car and I'm going. I'm like, yeah, I don't got time for this.
What I'm gonna do? Like, you know what? That's something that some young guy or some people that come up in the streets. You know, that's that ain't even smart in the streets to me.
Yeah, no.
If you got me beat, you know what? Let me walk away. Yeah. I may see you another day. You know, let me catch you another day when you ain't got nothing or I got mine or something like that. But it's dumb.
Yeah, I read a quote. I don't know if it was from like one of the prosecutors or a family member of Schellinger, but you know, they were like, you know, they were basically saying that Michael should be held accountable because you don't bring a knife to a fist fight. And I'm like, based on, you know, the narrative that was presented, Schellinger brought his fist to a knife fight. Well,
that wasn't even supposed to be a fight.
Right.
So, you know, he didn't bring a knife looking for trouble.
Right.
He didn't go there looking at, you know, it ain't like he really just started out. Now, you know what? Maybe he was just trying to warn him. Like, yo, you know, back up.
Like, yo, like don't.
Yeah,
like,
I ain't saying I want to use it.
It's a lot different saying, yo, back up, like, leave me alone, than, yo, what you going, like, what's up? That's a lot different than me coming toward you with a knife and me holding my ground. It's a lot different.
And I'm going to tell you another difference is, when they say when you pull, you're supposed to just go use it. You know, he didn't just go use no knife. He didn't just pull the knife and went after him. You know, he, like you said, he's stepping back. Mm-hmm. You know, I got this to defend myself. Right. You know, like, I mean, and hopefully you don't come and touch me no more.
Yeah, because I guarantee he didn't want to use that. Like, no one wants to do that unless you're a sick individual.
I'm pretty sure he didn't really want to use it because he wouldn't have stabbed him in the back. He probably would have been stabbing him in the front if he wanted. Because now, if I'm thinking I want to do something and I'm going to do something with this knife, I ain't going to wait till you tackle me. I'm coming. Mm-hmm. Soon you would run. Soon you took a step towards me, I'm poking. Mm-hmm. You know, so, like, I mean, like you say, it's not showing that this man really wanted to hurt this, you know, stab him. Mm-hmm. You know, he might have pulled the knife just to try to scare him.
Right.
You know?
Which is
and he might
what
have
I
been
think the goal was.
Who say how he, I mean, we ain't got no picture of how he was holding the knife. He could have been holding the knife shaking it all like that. Who knows?
It said, you know, what I read said that, you know, he drew the knife and retreated and then said what he said, you know, don't come close or whatever. Him taking that step back, you know, basically tells me that he wasn't really looking for trouble.
Right.
Like I said before, it's a lot different if you pull a knife and you come towards someone. That's aggressive behavior.
You know, you got to also say, if he really been found not guilty of that really had to be saying something. Mm-hmm. Because you know what? This a black man.
Yes.
That killed a white man.
Yes.
So it ain't like they're gonna just let you off, mm-hmm. You know. So you know the evidence and all had to really lead up mm-hmm. to really show something. It really did for him to get off with that. But you know, like you said earlier in the show, they want a conviction out of something, mm-hmm. so they get them for tampering with evidence, you know, or something like that. That's crazy.
And I'm worried about that too, because I think the maximum, you know, sentence for that is 1 to 2 years. I don't want them to try to appease certain people or to like try to even the score and try to give them the max for that. Because think about it. If I'm in that position, right, and that incident happens to me, and now I'm getting out of there, right? Because one, you kind of go into panic mode, probably. That's what I would assume. It's like trying to figure out what to do. You know, the first thing that would probably pop in my mind is what do I see in TV? Like, what do people do in these situations, right? You try to get rid of evidence, right? So it's like for them, one, if he was acting in self-defense, I just don't think he should be penalized for trying to get rid of the knife. Because, and I think when you're looking at this in court, you gotta, like, whenever they're determining if a person should be guilty of a crime, is one thing you're looking at is what kind of precipitated these events to happen, like what caused it all to happen, right? Like if X caused Y, the person that, you know, made X happen is held accountable, just like a car accident, right? So if, you know, if I drive and I'm texting and I crash into you crash into another car that knocks someone off a bridge, I'm responsible for that. So applying that logic to this, if Michael White wasn't responsible for the murder, he shouldn't be responsible for any events that happened after that, in my opinion. Now, I'm not a lawyer, don't have a law degree. Took a legal studies class, but I'm not on that level. That's just the logic that I would apply.
Well,
yeah.
You know, like what you're saying is like, I don't know because I'm not a lawyer neither. Mm-hmm. But you know, he left the scene of the thing too, mm-hmm. right? So that's just like if you be in an accident and you leave that accident, then it's a consequence to pay with that. And not saying that he wasn't scared and didn't know, couldn't think, you know, at first what to do. I mean, ordinary, if you do something, your conscience gonna make you run. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like, you know what, like people used to say about a little kid or when you little. If you throw a baseball through the window, you ain't gonna just stand there and say, you know, it was an accident. You're not just gonna stay there. You gonna run. Yeah. You gonna run. So I mean, some things it's reaction. You know, like now, you know, but the thing is, I think didn't he turn himself in?
Yeah, he turned himself in the next day.
I mean, he came back. Like, you know, like a lot of things should be taken under consideration.
I agree.
You know, like one thing I know, and you know, because I've been around, like, you know, when I was locked up, and you know, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of people go to court. I heard a lot about court cases or, you know, sitting in court. So, you know, like a lot of times, like, you know what, they want a conviction. That's mm-hmm. definitely a conviction. Now the thing is, like you said, is they gonna try to give him that to make up for it, you know, or if they're going to give him something lenient and let him continue his education. And I hope that he could continue his education. You know, that's the main thing, because like we saying when we go back early in the show, it's not a person that's bad out there doing bad. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes things happen. You know, and it was a case of a thing happened. But like we said, it ain't really all his fault neither, because the guy could have gotten a car and rode off.
Mm-hmm. And so, people argue that Michael White involved himself unnecessarily. But I mean, if all he said was something to the effect of, you don't got to be a tough guy here, that doesn't justify him being attacked. Like, we all learned sticks and stones may break my bones, but just keep it moving. Yeah. Keep it moving.
But I mean, and like I'm saying, you know what? That's a couple cases. Like, yeah, okay, he might have said something. You know, he could have said, "Don't be a tough guy," but not directly saying it really to him. But he gonna take it to, you know, it's gonna be said.
Hot-headed, prideful in the moment.
Right.
You know.
Right. But what I'm saying is, you know what? You know, I could tell you, yo, you could be talking to somebody, and I might say, man, you know, you ain't gotta be a tough guy. That don't mean I'm saying, you know, something for you to come at me and want to fight. I mean, like, you know what? You just don't have to do that.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about intention too. His intentions could have been to defuse the situation. Like, it's really not that serious.
Right. That's what I'm saying. When you said that, that ain't saying nothing. You
Right.
don't
That's
have to
not
be
me
a tough guy,
attacking
not
you.
saying nothing bad.
Like, I'm not saying you're a wimp or,
No,
you know.
that's not like me saying, "Oh, you think you tough? You ain't, like that." No, I'm not saying you just don't have to be like that. You
like,
know,
it's not necessary.
Then when you talk about now, you the one initiating things more so now, because now you want to start calling with racial slurs and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
You know, and first it was probably a racial slur before he even got to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a very unfortunate event. And it, it's sad. And like you said before, you never want someone to lose their life. Like, life is to be valued heavily. And, just like I pray for Michael White and his family as they continue on, and, he has to go through the rest of his life living with this event. Like he said, it's something he'll never forget. Like, how could you, But at the same time, you're praying for Michael White, you do got to pray for Sean Schellinger's family.
Right.
Because they lost someone, too, that they love dearly.
And,
regardless of his past, he was a human being, and things happened that were very unfortunate. So that family's grieving. They're definitely hurt, unhappy with the verdict. But,
the thing that I'm sitting here right now and hope that people can learn from this situation.
100%.
To learn how that this don't have to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody we might know, somebody that might be out here listening to us today and might get this and see that you don't have to act this way. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that way. Like sometimes, pack up and back up and walk away. Either what way it is, you don't have to be confrontational all the time. Sometimes somebody got to take a higher road. In this case, it didn't. But like one thing that like I try to thank God for everything now and for the knowledge that He give me now. And see the knowledge that He give me to let me, like I'm saying, like I'm not gonna say this good could come out of this too. Even though it was some tragic, but it's something still good because it's something that we all can learn from. Mm-hmm. And it's something, and it might be another person that might do that. This person now might have a knife. He might not even pour it out. He might keep his mouth shut. Mm-hmm. It might be some way, or he might handle it different. Or maybe the guy that get out, but we can't say when you over the drinking level and what you're going to do because you're not in your right mind anyway. So therefore, but you know what? Maybe it will help somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point you're making. I think that, that's why we're here. Learn from experiences, share experiences, share thoughts. And I welcome people to, comment below, email us and share their thoughts in a constructive manner. Anything that was said here today wasn't meant to offend, take sides or anything like that. I think that, it's really an opportunity to reflect on the situation. Be thankful because, honestly, I feel like, my personal opinion, justice was served, so to speak. And like I said, given the situation and events that were presented, but I'm just really hoping that, Mike was able to kind of move forward, and it's hard to say, like, get back to a normal life because I don't know. Like, it's a new normal, But both families have apparently been receiving death threats. Like, I really pray that stops so that they can, Schellinger's family can grieve or, continue to get past this, point in time. They'll, that loss will probably be something they always carry with and feel. And, Mike has to live with that for the rest of his life. But, definitely going to need a lot of support. But I'm just grateful that, him being a young man, he can still, continue on and try to find his way in life. And he doesn't have to worry about spending, the rest of his life behind bars.
Yeah, like you said, his role, I just hope get better. Mm-hmm. Just because like when you said a win, is it really a win? What do he got to really go through now?
It's gonna be a lot because people gonna know him. He's gonna be judged.
People, right?
It's gonna be perceived.
Right.
People gonna believe what they want to believe.
Because you know what? Like some people, and I don't want to use the wrong word because we are on it. But you know what? Some people is buttholes. And you know what? It's gonna be some. You know, just like that person. You know what? It might be he might be out or be somewhere. Somebody might be drinking. You know, even in college, drinking. You know, that somebody because like it just still exists. You know, and like with me, I really took the color out of this, and just looked at what happened. That's what I had to do. Look at the circumstance. Because what if it was 2 black people? What if it was 2 white people? You know.
Yeah, and that's what I did. Like it was definitely undertones there in this case, but even if you ignore that and just look at the events that happened,
right. That's what
I think the verdict makes sense.
Right. When I do like that, I do. You know, like at first, like when we first started talking about it, I had to. But when you look at it, and then when you look at what for him, like you know what, for them not to be we already said this earlier. For them to come up with a not guilty, he got to be not guilty. You know what I mean?
Right.
He got to be.
Right. But yeah. So thank you all for listening. Hope that you have a great week. I do ask that you please share our show. Send someone a link to the YouTube page, or even send this episode or just our page in general, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play, or again YouTube. Also leave us a 5-star review and follow us on social media at the NoStoppingKev Show. We appreciate you, and until next time, see you soon.
And stay blessed, and may y'all have a blessed week.